How we all doing? It is the Saturday night Transformer Slag podcast live stream. I'm a little exhausted today. Had to do a lot of painting. I'm building some brand new shelves in the comic book room. So excuse me if I'm a little exhausted today. But how we all doing? My goodness, what a week we had. Oh man, 2 different conventions, whole bunch of reveals, whole bunch of stuff dropping. Oh man, and a G.I. Joe movie coming out. Literally yesterday. Bang bang. Snake Eyes. Get that at Symbiote Studios. Woo! We'll talk about that later. So how are we all doing today? My name is Proto Man. For anyone who's new to this is the Transformer Slag podcast live stream Saturday night. Main event. The main event. Glad to see everyone here this evening. Let's jump into it, and then we'll do some super chats, and we'll talk about some new stuff we're working on, and everything this and that. A lot of masterpiece. Oh, don't worry about spoilers, guys. Don't worry about spoilers. I know what you guys are referring to. That's going to be happening next week. So let's jump into that, shall we? Just got to pull everything down here. So, first piece of news we're going to talk about is, bam, looks like we have 2 masterpieces we're going to be talking about. Both of them repaint retools. But this one's the most fascinating to me because I don't have any direct connection to the making of this masterpiece, but the direction of it, definitely. And it's that of the MP55 masterpiece Nightbird. I guess it's a Decepticon in this case. And for people of the sharp eye, it is a repaint retool of the RC mold. Looks like it has a brand new chest, brand new head sculpt, and a whole bunch of brand new weapons. I think it looks really, really good. But it might be a little bit of a bias in relation to that. The weapons that she comes with the 2 little lightsabers, 2 sais, 2 big swords that are a nod to her generation's incarnation and repaint, 2 guns, an extra face, which is an unmasked Nightbird, which comes from Sakamoto's manga, where we got to see Nightbird's face, and a whole bunch of other little things, 2 little energy weapons. And of course, where did this all really stem from? Well, back in the day, the one on the right over there was the TFCon 2010 Nightbird exclusive. It was actually called the Nightbird exclusive because the trademark did not exist at the time for Hasbro. So it was called the TFCon Nightbird exclusive. It was a repaint of the Impossible Toys RC figure that existed at the time. And keep in mind, back in 2009, 2010, third party wasn't what it is today. So it was a little rough around the edges, very garage kiddie, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, at the time, if you weren't Fans Project, you weren't Jack back then. But it was a fun little experiment. It was one of my very first professional little gigs of doing a comic book or anything like that. I got to work with Josh Perez and Alex Milne and flesh out this character and explain why Nightbird has RC's body. And then you fast forward 6 years later, and the one in the middle there, the Sakamoto version, was done through the Transformers Legends line. Again, a repaint retool of a RC mold, in this case, the Generations Thrilling 30 RC or the Legends RC. And the rest was history. They kept the little size, they put them on the side, everything was maintained, and then you jump forward to this today, and it's the 3rd time up at bat being a RC retool repaint. So I have a little bit of a stake in the game, and that's why I kind of dig this. People have been saying, oh, well, it's not accurate to how she is in the show, and I agree with you. But in the same way that there's been a lot of masterpieces in the past that have been repaint retools of standard molds that have not been based on anything of cartoon lore, whether it be e-hobby exclusives like Road Rage, whether it be Diaclone exclusives like Exhaust, whether it be running change repaints like Red Bumblebee, whether it be toy accurate stuff like the Megatron and the Shockwave that were done in toy accurate colors. I could go on and on. Heck, MP3 Starscream, the very first masterpiece Starscream, was painfully not show accurate. So to do something a little fun that is a I guess, a Legends / TFCon homage, I'm down for that. You got my attention. You got me raising an eyebrow. I'm interested. So that's going to be happening soon. Pre-orders are going to be opening up on July 28th, and we'll get obviously better photos, and we'll probably talk about it a little more when we get the more high-res photos and all the pretty images of Nightbird. It's nice to get female masterpieces. We don't have many. When you really think about it, most masterpieces, if they are female, they're just repaint retools of their male counterparts. This is one that uses the RC mold, so it stays within that territory, but at least we get more of them. So I'm down for that. Sign me up. Check it out. Next up, another masterpiece. This one dropped from Lupaza Megastore, and let's talk about Masterpiece Crosscut. So it seems we're going to be seeing more from that Skids mold than we thought. We thought, oh, we're just going to be getting the Reboost repaint, the red repaint, but it seems like the Crosscut version is also coming down the pipeline. Crosscut, if you see on the right there, was originally an eHobby 2002 exclusive character that came with Road Rage. It was like a 2-pack set. So what's really cool about this is it harkens back to some of those very first brand new G1 characters when eHobby started rolling those out back in 2002, 2003. And then Crosscut afterwards was then made into a Generations 2014 figure, which was available in American retail, and it was the first time us as Westerners were able to pick up that character, and people are messaging me like crazy. Gotta turn that off. Sorry about that, guys. So this is pretty cool. I dig that. For people that are sharp-eyed on this one, it's using the the Honda R-type. So here, I'll just pull up the next one here. I'll show you the differences. So within the repaint history of the Skids mold, the one obviously top middle there is Skids, which was the Honda City Turbo, which has the little the bump on the hood and everything, and slight little detail changes and how the emblem is. And then, of course, you have Crosscut to the left of him, which was the Honda City R-type, which is the more racing type and is kind of different. It doesn't have the turbo, which would have turbo lag back in the 80s. It's a long story from a mechanical standpoint. But you kind of see all the different versions there. Reboost is on the bottom there. So you see what's going on there. Also a Honda City R-type. And, of course, on the top right, you have Skids and Screech, which was the Million Publishing Generations Mailway magazine thing. I have that one. It's kicking in my collection. I never opened it. I don't know why, because I always thought it was like something special because it was like so movie related. What's up, Larry? But this is awesome stuff. Oh, so I also want to mention, sorry, I just peeked at the chat for a second. Trevor, you did a super chat. We'll get to it at the end of the news, brother, but thank you for the super chat. So let's jump into that one sec. So, you know, I dig this. I dig it a lot. I think it's cool. It gives another, yet again, another life for that mold. Already 3 repaints and the toy isn't even out yet. 2 repaints and the toy isn't even out yet. But it's a great mold. It's very alternators kind of like, and I dig it. I dig it a lot. Maybe we'll see something happen with the other ones. We don't have a character for that black repaint. We haven't seen anything done with the character of Screech or Green Skids. So, once again, one of these molds that have so many different versions that I'm pretty sure you could think of something and create some kind of characters from it. Look, we got Spin Out from the Red Sunstreaker. So whole new characters that could be created from that. So I dig it. It's pretty cool. We'll get more information about it because we don't have images of everything. But one thing I do want to mention, it's going to have a new head sculpt. The body will be more or less the same, but it'll have a brand new head sculpt with a face on it. So pretty radical. Pretty awesome. Let me get a sip of water. It's been a long day. Alrighty then, next up, let's talk about our last of our Transformers War for Cybertron trading cards. The Peel to Reveal Golden Disc Destiny cards. Up to this point, we knew that there was going to be 15 of them, and then there was going to be the final 16th card that wasn't going to be related to all the ones and characters we've seen up to this point. It has finally been revealed, and it is that of Unicron. And when you peel it back, it says destroys Cybertron. Now, keep in mind, the alternate Destiny cards are alternate Destinies, so it's not a spoiler, this card. It's more just what probably could happen in one of many different realities. So, hey, we're getting Unicron in some shape or form in the cards. It'll obviously be randomized with the final wave of Kingdom for the Wave 4 before we go into our Legacy Collection, which I'll get into in the future. I didn't want to really talk about the Legacy Collection here because it's so much to go over, but yet we don't have any images, so I wanted to do something a little more visual. If you want to learn more about the Legacy Collection, when the stream is done, I did a couple of the segments a couple days ago, both Legacy and the new Studio Series stuff for 2022, so be sure to check that out also, my friends. Let's get into the premium finish line. So, also these were dropped. This is the premium finish line. These are the January planned releases for 2022 of a Studio Series. This is called SS05 Studio Series Ratchet, based off of his 2007 Studio Series design. And we have a a War for Cybertron, or known as WFC05 Siege Starscream. The difference between the two of these compared to their original counterparts, as you can see on the bottom there, the Ratchet just has way more paint apps. That's mostly due to the fact that the original Studio Series Ratchet was a deluxe class and it was limited by the price point that it was in. And as a result of that, because it was limited by the price point, it didn't have a lot of paint decos on it. It was very limited. So this one is going to take that deluxe toy, paint it up like crazy, paint up the face, paint up the legs, everything, and make it look a lot more like it does in the movie. If you're someone who doesn't collect movie masterpieces and Studio Series is really your more affordable alternative, I heavily suggest you pick up this Ratchet because it really is the go-to for Ratchet in a lot of ways. And as for the Starscream, I mean, in all honesty, it's a slightly lighter paint scheme without the siege, battle damage, silver rust, whatever you want to call it. That's really the only difference there. But I think we all knew that was coming at some point. I knew that at some point, all of these siege toys that we all have here, we're going to have at some point some non-battle damage versions. So, hey, that's coming, and that's pretty cool. So what we have now up to this point with the premium finish line, here's the chart, if you will. So we had the movie Bumblebee, and the Siege Optimus that is super show accurate to the Netflix version. That's going to be for October. For November, we're going to have movie Bumblebee Optimus Prime with Siege Megatron. So that's going to be for November. For December, we have movie Megatron 2007 Leader Class with the Siege Ultra Magnus. We talked about that last week. I don't understand that weird gray color scheme, but I guess they want to do something different this time around. And then we have the 2022 January release of this Ratchet and this Starscream. Although, according to pre-orders I was seeing online, it might be coming out at the end of January, not the beginning. So if you are interested in getting these, keep that in mind. We don't know what the others are yet. I have some guesses. Specifically the March stuff, the number 3 there. I'm thinking it's Leader Class Jetfire for the movie stuff, and it's War for Cybertron Earthrise Wheeljack. That's what I'm thinking more than anything. Primarily, like here, let me just show you my comparison photos. So there's the silhouette at the bottom, and there's the Wheeljack. They're clearly using the Japanese stock photos. So, you know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You know, I dig it. I don't know how it's going to look. Don't use this image as an example, but it does mean that at some point we're going to be getting a Wheeljack and a Jetfire. I don't know what they're going to be doing for February. Your guess is as good as mine. Some people are telling me Springer. Some people are telling me Shockwave. Some people are telling me Optimus Prime from Age of Extinction. All kinds of different guesses. I need to find the corresponding Japanese stock image, again, like the Wheeljack, that shows the difference, that you could see like the white parts and everything. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens in the future, but I'm really interested to see what happens with those. It's an interesting line. It's a little pricey at times, but they really are doing what many years ago we used to get, where we had classics and then we had the Henkei line, which was the Japanese version that had an alternate choice of paint scheme. And then when we got into Universe and Generations, you had the Legends line with Sakamoto, which was an alternate paint scheme. And it's the same thing with the Japanese stuff. With the movie figures, you had the movie stuff in America, and then you had the movie stuff in Japan that had different paint schemes, different accessories. So we're kind of back to that era where if you are interested in getting alternatives for your stuff, this is one way to go about it. Yeah. Next up, this is our busy week that was so tiring. Let's get into the ACGHK 2021 Hong Kong Anacom and Games Hong Kong Convention. A lot of stuff here that was revealed. A lot of it third-party stuff. I don't want to go over all of it because we're going to be here all day. So I'm just going to go over just a couple things that caught my eye that I was very excited about, especially if anyone who was following my Twitter. Let's talk about the Ulti-Metal line by Action Toys. Action Toys is a company that did the amazing, and still is to this point, I hope. We kind of have like weird news when it comes to that. But does the amazing Machine Robo GoBots line of transformable figures. They did their Ulti-Metal line of Optimus and Megatron, which were $800 to $900. And they were very impressive metal figures with removable armor, and you could see all the Cybertronian, goo under it and everything, and all the little wiring. Had LED lights for the eyes. Really impressive figures. They revealed this weekend. Oh man, Studio Ox, Season 3, Rodimus Comboy, Rodimus Prime, and Galvatron, done in the Obari Studio Ox design. And I am depressed beyond belief, because if these things are just as expensive as their previous counterparts, it is going to be a nightmare. Now, people have informed me that these are going to be slightly smaller and hopefully more affordable, and they do payment plans, which I've never done in my life. The only thing I have in terms of payment plan is my mortgage for my house. So I'm going to have a mortgage for my house, and I'm going to have a mortgage for a Rodimus Prime figure. What have I done with my life that I've gotten to this point? So, I don't know, man. It's definitely the sexiest Rodimus figure I've ever seen. I love the Studio Ox design. I've said many times that DX9 Carry, the third-party Rodimus Prime, is easily probably my favorite Rodimus anything that's ever been made. And, man, I just hope it's cheap. 500 I could do. 1,000, that's going to be a different story. And we're talking American bones, too. We're not talking Canadian Monopoly money, so I don't know, guys. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But yeah, these are pretty awesome. I really dig them a lot. I wish I could get both. I really do. But there's not enough cheese in all of the world to get that. Oh, and Rodimus could also turn into Hot Rod, so now I have to probably get 2 of them so I could have both of them on display. Man. Yep, that same Obari, legendary Obari, who did the Fatal Fury animes, who did a whole bunch of different designs. Obari has a huge connection to Transformers. He actually worked on the first 3 episodes of G1 Season 1. Mortem ECI Parts 1, 2, and 3. He talked about it on his Twitter. And then he did a lot of these story pages for G1 afterwards, whether it be Scramble City or Transformers 2010, aka Season 3. And that's where we get this sexy Rodimus from. What a world. What a world. Flame Toys. Let's talk about Flame Toys with their Farai model kits. So Flame Toys revealed today 3 concept designs for their next Farai model kits. They obviously had some of their stuff also on display, like their prototype of their RC and Windblade. But we have here today some concepts. So we have Bludgeon, we got Banzaitron, and we got Beast Wars Black Arachnia by Bansan. So the Banzaitron and the Bludgeon, they look fantastic. It's funny how these were 2 characters that really had 2 very different origins. One was a Pretender shell and one was an Action Master. But as time progressed, they started to become repaint brothers of each other. And we kind of starting to see a little bit of this here today too. Granted, yes, they're still original molds next to each other. But you do see some dynamic similarities there for these 2 very samurai-esque kind of warriors in Cybertronian history. And Banzaitron's kind of getting a little bit of a renaissance now. You know, now he has that Super 7 figure coming out now, and now he has this. So if you're one of those weird kids in the early 90s who loved that Action Master Banzaitron, well, good news for you, my friend. He's coming on strong. And let's talk about this Black Arachnia. Now, this Black Arachnia, what's interesting about it is that it's some art, it's a concept art of Bansan that he did many years ago. I'm going to just pull this up here. So this was some art that he did back in 2015, which was a fusion of the Transformers animated Black Arachnia with the Sakamoto Transformer Legends Black Arachnia, the toys, the two on the right there. He kind of fused the two together, did a little piece of art, and that was that. This was in 2015. It was 7 years ago today. And now, looks like we're going to be getting a model kit out of it. So, hey, that's awesome. That's a deep cut, to say the least. It's a very deep cut in terms of obscurity. But hey, Black Arachnia, more awesome Farai model kits to join the crew. Clearly, these are selling extremely well, that they keep making more of them. So, if anything, if Flame Toys, if you're listening, don't listen to the haters, listen to the wallets. That's how the world works. You don't want to bankrupt yourself following the wrong people. But this is really cool. I dig it a lot. And I look forward to their other stuff, too. They also did, from their action figure series, they have a Rodimus that's coming, too. The More Than Meets the Eye IDW Rodimus with a massive spoiler. The spoiler is like almost as tall as the figure. And it looks great. Looks great. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Either way, awesome stuff. Check it out. Next up, we have some Cyberverse news that just comes out of nowhere because Hasbro doesn't let us know about it. Let's talk about our Cyberverse Deluxe Class Cheetor. Now, we knew about this through JT Prime 17 and the early listings of Walmart that we were going to be getting some Cyberverse stuff, that we were going to be getting some Cyberverse Deluxes, and Cheetor was on that list. And I am super happy about this because if you look in the middle, bottom middle there, that was our old Cheetor figure that we had in 2019. That Spark Armor one that came with the aircraft carrier. It had very low paint decos. It had a weird kind of auto transform gimmick that made the chest not sit properly. It was not a good figure. And for the longest time, I was worried that it was going to be the only Cyberverse Cheetor figure. Considering that this character is supposed to be, I mean, come on, man. He was like a big part of Season 3. And this was the only figure he got. That was, I don't know. So now we have this deluxe one. He comes with a whole bunch of armor pieces too, so you could kind of give him a little bit of a Animal Pretender kind of throwback, or a little bit of a Beast Machines kind of Cheetor throwback. Has the swords, has everything. Anyone that saw my Twitter post kind of comparing the two, it's quite uncanny what they were going for at Hasbro. And I like it a lot because even if you take off all those armor pieces, which are optional, you get a extremely show accurate deluxe class Cyberverse Cheetor. So that's pretty awesome. What's up, Aaron? So this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I'm excited about that. That's going to be a day one purchase for sure. And I guess I'm just going to have to figure out to do something with my little aircraft carrier Cheetor. At least the aircraft carrier is cool. Kind of has like cool little, like you could do kind of a base mode with it and stuff. Maybe I'll do a little photo shoot of it in the future. But, it is what it is. Last but not least, we have some stuff that leaked from some Thailand storage facilities, and it is that of some Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee stuff. We have a 2-pack here of the Clunker, Bumblebee, and Barricade. For the sharp-eyed people, this is just a repack. Possibly, might have slight paint decos, but from what we could tell thus far, this is a repack of the Studio Series old Clunker Bumblebee and the Barricade 2007 movie. So these are coming. If you haven't picked them up before, there will be a 2-pack around. Hopefully there will be some kind of savings that'll be involved with this. But again, probably a Target exclusive like most, Buzzworthy Bumblebee stuff. This has been found in some shipping storage facilities in Thailand. Some people snapped some photos and the box. So some point it's going to show up. A lot of Buzzworthy stuff just shows up unannounced. So that's just the case of it. And that's it for news, more or less, this week. There was a Tigatron stuff, but I don't know, some loser, just kind of like talked about it. So I'll save it for when we get some better photos and not someone that doesn't know what he's talking about the toy. Shots fired. Either way, let's talk about creative stuff. So also, if you are interested, and Aaron's here too, he perfectly timed it. I almost feel like Aaron was planning that. I've been working on a little side project It's the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. And it is a little podcast that we have been throwing together for the past couple of months now. And it's going to talk about all the different types of toy brands within the Hasbro and Kenner emblem. And we go deep behind the scenes, talk about the stories of how they're created and everything like that. And even if you're not, so episode 1 here is going to be about Star Wars, episode 1, some Power of the Force talk. And even if you're not a Star Wars fan and you're just a Transformer fan, I suggest giving it a listen. It's going to be me and Aaron Archer going back and forth. It's a good 2 hours almost. And pretty much we talk about stuff like, why did Kenner go into Hasbro? Stuff that, affects even Beast Wars. Why did we go from Kenner to Hasbro? The transition from action figures being playthings and toyetic to more of a realistic, posable kind of thing. A lot of cool stuff going on there. Check it out. Just type the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer on your YouTube machine, or just type the Toy Armada. Be sure to check it all out. It's a really good listen. Been working on it, and there's going to be a lot more in the future. Not just Transformers. It's going to be a lot of different kinds of topics. If you were a 90s kid, there's a lot you could take away from this because there's a lot of nostalgic talk about all the crazy stuff that was going on with all these different brands. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And that's just a little something extra on the side. Let's just get into sponsors. So again, Symbiote Studios this weekend. You should be going to check out the Snake Eyes movie. Just yesterday, July 23rd, was the worldwide debut. So go check out the Snake Eyes movie. Let's see if Hasbro could pull it off this time around. And of course, if you want to get in on the Snake Eyes action, Symbiote Studios, that does all the cool Transformers plush and G.I. Joe plush and t-shirts and pins. Go get some Snake Eyes. Get the Snake Eyes and Timber, $29.99. It's adorable. And it comes with a pin too, the little pin that I got here. All comes with it also. So be sure to check that out. And of course also, we got some Rangers in the future. So be sure to check that out when that's going to be happening. That'll get a big announcement soon. All the Hasbro brands under one banner. For sure. Faux show. And that's it for the news, my friends. As for stuff that we got this week, not much. Picked this up. Buddy was unloading some stuff. Not even a Transformer fan. Just picked up a Sea Spray. See it at a Proto Man parts party in the future. And just some non-Transformer stuff, really. Some Ultraman, Suffobi Kaiju. I got Pigmon. This is the original Pigmon from the 60s. So it's amazing how you can see the evolution of art from Suffobi. But got a nice little Pigmon figure. That's about it, really. That came in the mail, and not much else I could really say. It's been a quiet week in terms of purchases, but it's been a busy week in terms of news. So that's a lot of stuff. So let's get into, I'm going to scroll all the way up here. We had a super chat question from Trevor Stasik. So again, thank you, Trevor, for the super chat. Once again, if you want to join the craziness, be sure to super chat below, and we'll discuss some crazy stuff. So we got, hey, Proto, thanks for keeping it real. Thank you, my friend. Got a question for later after the news. Well, it's after the news now, my brother. What's the number one thing fans can do to ensure the longevity of the Transformer brand? Well, I mean, obviously, the obvious answer is always going to be like, hey, man, you gotta buy the toys, even if you don't like it or not. If anything, it really shouldn't even fall into the responsibility of the fans. It should really fall into the responsibility of Hasbro. Because if you look at historically of the Transformer brand, there's always ups and then there's downs, and then there's ups and then there's downs. After G1 kind of started to really have a slow decline, because it's never like a crash. It's always a slow decline, which is like, after 1986, 1987, you don't have any kind of media on television. Yeah, you have the comics. There's a slow decline of Generation 1 during the Pretender shells, during the Micro Masters and everything. And then they were really in trouble by the time of the Action Masters. And the Action Masters were pretty much an answer to what Toy Biz was doing, where they were doing some big money with the mutants and the action figures and the X-Men and the Marvel stuff in the early 90s. So after, Action Masters, and there was just this drop, They were like, look, we got to reinvent ourselves, but they didn't. And what did they do? They did G2, which was just more of the same. And they didn't reinvent themselves. They didn't make new media. It was just the G2 cartoons were the G1 cartoons with new cybernetic space cube stuff. The comic was new, ran for 12 issues, got canceled, had Simon Furman on it, but there wasn't really anything renewed. So G2 was a big low point. And I've said this before on the podcast, the worst year in Transformers history was 1992. That year they had like 6 figures come out, no media in the Western world, a little bit of story pages in the Japanese world, and like a couple of comics, and that was it. 92 was a terrible year for Transformers. But then when you get to the revisioning, how did we save Transformers? They went, when everything was going this direction, G1, 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 and it wasn't working, they went Beast Wars. And it saved the brand. It saved the brand. It transformed the brand, no pun intended. It put it in another direction. Ball joints, CG animation, deep storytelling, scientific lore, lore in general, ongoing stories. And it saved the brand. And then after Beast Wars High kind of started to slide again with Beast Machines. And then when Robots in Disguise came out to buy a time, I love Robots in Disguise designs and car robots, but it still was kind of sliding down. So they changed it up again. And then Armada happened. And Armada was another boost. It went up again. It's something different. It's mini-cons. It's play patterns. It's all of this. It went up. And then it started to slide down again. Energon, and I love Cybertron Galaxy Force. Don't get me wrong, but it was sliding down around that time. Then you have something different. Boom, something changes again. 2007 movie, it goes up. So the secret to me is you got to be different. You have to do something that's radically different, and that's what keeps the longevity of the brand. And like anything in life, and this isn't just related to Transformers, but any brand, whether it be Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers, there's always going to be ups and downs. But usually when there's an up again, it's usually because they did something that was different from before. They do something fresh. And that's usually the best way to save a brand. That's the best way to do it, is you got to have that freshness, because otherwise people are going to get bored. And not only do they get bored, they go away. I mean, as someone who's been in the online fandom since the beginning of like the online fandom, like 95, 96, I've seen people come in, get excited, be big collectors, buy a lot of toys, engage with the brand, go to conventions, and then they get bored. And then they go to something else, they become part of another fandom, and they never come back. And you lose someone. And I'm not saying like us as fans we lost someone, but Hasbro as a business lost a customer. And they went elsewhere. They all of a sudden became into Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles or wrestling or whatever, or trading cards. Something else caught their attention because they got bored of the sameness of whatever the brand was. And that's the best way to protect things, is you got to constantly be fresh. The sad thing is that, and I've said this before, is that, Generation 1 was 1984 to 1991, officially. So when you think about it, we've had more Generation 1 from classics to now, 2006 to now. Think about that. That is crazy when you think about it. 2006 to now, 15 years of classics G1 flavor, where the original Generation 1 was only 7. So we've been double the amount of time of Optimus Primes, Megatrons, Bumblebees, Starscreams. Sooner or later, people are going to be bored of looking at this guy. They're going to be bored at looking at that design, that truck like that. It's going to happen. And then there's going to be a down period. They're going to lose fans. And then, some fans are going to age out. Some fans are going to move to other interests. But then they're going to have to pivot and do something different. And I think that'll be an amazing time, because the last times they've done that, we got stuff like Beast Wars. The bad times weathered the storm and lead to good after effects. And I really feel that that's what's going to happen more than anything else. I really do. Michael Koo says here, I love the gimmicks of TF Armada. Armada was something different. When you really think about it, think about, like, don't think about, now something like Armada where you plug in a mini con and a pop out feature. It's so common today. But when you look at Armada and what it did for the brand leading up to it, because prior to Armada, we had Robots in Disguise, which was more the hyper realistic car modes and combining and just not really many play patterns. And then Beast Machines, while it did have some kind of stuff, you have like these deployers that are like animals that turn into weapons, and then you have these other ones that, like, they're like chariots. Like they were trying to have play patterns, but it just didn't work out. It was very weird between 99 and 2001 for Transformers, because Beast Machines really didn't do well. Robots in Disguise kind of was like finding kind of an audience, but not really. It was the return to vehicles, and people were a little confused after like almost 5 years of Beasts. So it's something where, Armada was something fresh. And sure, some people don't like Armada. Some people grew up on Armada. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion. But it was something different, and that different worked. In the same way that the Rescue Bots line, while it might not be for most of us, it sold very well. And it found its audience because it was something different for a young preschool demographic, where even Transformers, I mean, you could barely see it. There he is. There's one of the first preschool Transformer toys, the My First Transformers. They only had 3 of those, and it didn't work out the first time they tried to do that. Now we have a preschool line. It's based on iconic characters as opposed to, like, Truckbot over there. And it made something different. And people got into it. Parents were buying it for their preschoolers, and it lasted longer in episodes than it did G1, which is not many things could claim that. So it was a big deal, big deal. But yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts, and to me, I kind of sometimes I want Transformers to go through that down period. Because when it goes through that down period, I feel creativity will start to be stirred again. When you have easy money, people tend to rest on their laurels. And they go, oh, wow, everyone bought, these figures. We don't really have to change much. We'll just keep doing that again and again and again. And you can't do that. You can't. It's not a good investment for the future. In a lot of ways. It really isn't. We got a super chat here. Mr. Bumblebot. He says, new 2-pack found. VW Bumblebee and Dropkick with... it's the more Buzzworthy Bumblebee stuff is showing up, I guess. Yeah, there's going to be... You know what? I was just literally talking about this in my last segment of the podcast. Like, Buzzworthy Bumblebee as a line... People need to understand that it's something that, while we have it here in the Western market, I really feel this was something that was really created for the Eastern market, more specifically the Pacific Rim of China and everything. And that's why we're having all these reissues of stuff. I mean, it's great if you missed stuff before. Hey, you weren't collecting 2 years ago. You missed some of these Studio Series stuff, or you missed something. It's great. But in general, it's really a lot of unannounced product that's just showing up in stores unannounced and stuff like that. But yeah. Hey, Proto, what is the first Transformers video review on the internet? Ooh, that's a tough one. Video review, I don't know. I was there at early YouTube. It would probably, if I had to take a guess, there was an old podcast back in the day that doesn't exist anymore. I forget its name. Oh my God, it's escaping me right now. But the guy who used to run the podcast used to use like an old crappy webcam to do his podcast, his reviews. And he might be one of the first ones. I forget it. I think it was TF Matrix. Something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe someone remembers. I think it was called TF Matrix was the podcast. And they were one of the first guys. And, they just never stuck with it. But they were definitely like the Neil Armstrongs, probably. The very first podcast, that's Radio Free Cybertron. I'll give that to them for sure. Brian Kilby was a pioneer in that respect. But my first my first video was a response question, because when YouTube first started, there was this thing where you could do YouTube replies back in the day. And a buddy of mine in the UK Transformer community, Cobra Commander, he did a video, and then I did a reply to it talking about Transformer toys. And it got, like, it was just a reply to Cobra Commander's video, not the G.I. Joe character. That's the name of the guy. It gets confusing. I was doing a reply to his video. Andrew, that's his real name, Andy. And it's just, it found so much traction, and people really liked, I guess, how I was on camera. And there was the people who knew me in real life when I would go to BotCon and stuff, and they were like, you should make more. It's, it's so good. Like, you went on a rant, but it was a good rant. And I mean, the rest was history with that, Started doing my thing. Let's see. Let's grab another super chat question. Got to scroll up. I saw the Overcooked Dino plush. Very tempting. That's from Symbiote Studios. They did that. Episode 1 was fire. Like, okay. Andy's talking about the this here that I did, the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. Yeah, we did episode 1. It was really fun. It was really, really fun. It's fun to do. I like diving into the insider kind of stuff of toy creation, because I find that, unlike a lot of other mediums, whether it be video games or comic books or movies, every movie has like a behind the scenes, kind of thing, disc now. Every comic book, if it has a trade paperback, the back of it has interviews, with the artists or the writers. Every single video game usually has some kind of extra content and everything that you can learn about how it was made, or the creators are very accessible. Toys never really have that. You don't buy like a carded, like, Super Mario figure, and on the back it's going to have the whole story of, like, how this figure was created or something, and you don't know who created it, what were the decisions made. It's so much of that is lost. And doing this show, we're trying to really go back in time and tackle all these different brands, Star Wars and Batman and Transformers and Jurassic Park and Men in Black and so many of these, and tackle all of those, and then somehow figure out, how these were created from the words of the actual people who worked on them, and for the ones that aren't with us anymore, to celebrate them, because people have passed away that have also worked on these brands and we'll never get to know their stories. So to talk about their stories too, because we got to talk about, like, Power of the Force with Star Wars, and we got to talk about, the guy who pretty much created that line, and how that just changed everything for toys. Anyone who was a collector of toys in general in the 90s, Toy Fair magazine, Lee's action figures, Power of the Force was a big deal, and it really changed the game. So to talk about that is very important. You looked up TF Matrix on YouTube and didn't find a review. I found an old Night/2000 stop motion video. The thing is, it was years ago. I want to say this was like, YouTube was like, what, 2007, 2006 when it first started YouTube. It was like literally some of the first videos. And this was a guy that he had a podcast, had an audio version, and then he had a really crappy grainy webcam that he would do toy reviews. And that's some of the first ones I've ever heard of. And then, of course, like, then you have guys like Vangelis that had like a DVR and a better camera, and it kind of went from there in a lot of ways. They are awful. The Power of the Force stuff, well, we actually talk about why they are roided up and muscular. There was a reasoning behind that. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll find out why. So just be sure to check out the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. Plug. Let's see. Let's grab another one. Grab another super chat question for tonight. I am so exhausted. It was a crazy day. A lot of building shelving. I had to move all my comic book collection out. We're building multi-tier shelving for all my long boxes because it's kind of getting out of hand. And since I have some free time this week, no work, so I'm going to spend that week doing a lot of sanding, painting, and building. And it's going to be a little busy. Going to be a little busy. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Let's see here. What do you think about making an ebook about Transformer collection finance? You know what? I've done panels in the past with TFCon talking about Transformer finance. I've done tons of videos here on the podcast. You know, to me, I feel that, you know, when it comes to Transformer finance, it's a constantly evolving kind of thing. There's no one kind of science to it. The thing is that what is worth money at one point with toys is different in another era. I mean, I see the same thing when it comes to video games, when it comes to any kind of media. You just kind of like have to talk about, like, in the same way, like when you're talking stocks and bonds, you can't just like have one book about it and that book is stationary and it doesn't change. The world changes, and so does the Transformer finance world, where like a guy like let's just use this for an example. This Sea Spray comes out, what was this? This was 2008, I want to say. Hunt for the Decepticons. I think 2008, 2009. Maybe 2010. Yeah, probably 2010. Either way. You know, so you have something like this, and it comes out MSRP at the time. Let's see. So it was a Voyager scale back at that time. So it was probably $19.99. So MSRP $19.99 plus American taxes. Let's just say $21. Just to be fair, every state is different with their taxes. So he comes out, he's $21. So right away off the bat, he's a brand new mold. And with a brand new mold, there's right away a spike of interest because, oh my God, it's Sea Spray. We haven't gotten a Sea Spray in a long time. The closest thing we got to a Sea Spray was like a mini-con that was like repainted in blue that kind of looked like Sea Spray. You know, it doesn't look like G1 Sea Spray, but it's a Sea Spray. It's a Voyager. It's a brand new mold. We've never gotten this mold before. So people start buying it up. You know, there's a little bit of a scalping market. So then there's people that are buying it up and trying to sell it for $25, $30. So it increases like that. New toy, new hat syndrome, all that kind of stuff. Then give it 6 months, the cool off period. And then all of a sudden, no one cares about this because new product comes out. And then this, all of a sudden, is now loose on tables at conventions. Original MSRP, $19.99, $21 after taxes. Now people are asking $10, $15. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You come to TFCon. This is going to be $15 Canadian at my parts party. Probably. $15 Canadian. Which right away it shows. So did your investment work out? No, it didn't. Not in that case. Now, what if you kept one sealed complete? You know, sealed in the box. Yeah, you might have some mint and box sealed collectors that might be interested in paying $25, $30, maybe $40, but it kind of goes up and down, and does that market exist? So that's just a micro example of Transformers finance. I could get even deeper into other stuff, but that's just an example just with this. When you start getting into modern toys, vintage toys, you know, like lucky draw toys and limited run stuff like Bakon exclusives or even something like Unicron, it's a different animal. We got a whole bunch of super chats that were popping up here, so let's get into those. Michael Koo, the legendary Michael Koo, wants to know, Protoman, watching the Transformers the movie and notice parts where Optimus' color changes during his transformation. Why does this kind of stuff happen? Toei Animation and Sunbow, along with the Korean studios of ACOM, all those three companies working on that movie, nothing was perfect. There is mistakes, especially when you have something like those Fluoro Deary designs that were never intended to be 100% perfect transformations. Those colors always have mistakes. And Toei was funny because when they were working on Transformers the movie, They were also working on another movie called Hokuto no Ken, aka Fist of the North Star. They were working on the movie version of that. And if you actually pause Unicron, like the inside of Unicron eating the planets at the beginning of the movie, like the Linthan planet, you could actually see the backgrounds from Fist of the North Star for a split second because they like made a mistake and they overlaid the cells on the photography table. So there's a lot of weird stuff that was going on back then. Trust me, Optimus Prime color mistakes are the least of the problems. But, today it's a little different. Everything's done digital. Assets are more consistent. So there's, when you don't have, hand painted cells, there's less of room for error. I mean, look at something like Beast Wars. When you have CG models, it's very hard for those CG models to be painted incorrectly unless it's a different model. Or there's some kind of clipping error. Or sometimes a character, a part of their body will clip with their body when they were doing a movement, and then you'll see a mistake like that. But in general, when you have those kind of assets, you don't have those kind of mistakes. A lot of cartoons now are made with Flash, and the characters are assets that are animated and manipulated, not hand-drawn, so it's very rare that you see mistakes today. The beauty of cell animation, it looks beautiful, but it's also subject to human error. Sometimes it's beautiful in a sense. So imperfection is perfection in a lot of ways. But thank you for the super chat question, Michael. It's a good one. I like it. I've never really had to talk about that before. Oscar wants to know, Oscar Madrano, hope I pronounced that right, Oscar. What kind of comics do you collect? I love the podcast, bro. For the collection. Man, a lot. I don't even know where to begin. The stuff that I still collect, like, actively is anything of, obviously, Transformer stuff. That kind of goes without saying. Outside of Transformer stuff, anything The Tick, New England comics. I love The Tick. I love Ben Unlin and The Tick. Big fan of his stuff. Even if you don't like The Tick, when it's free comic book day, they usually have a Tick comic book. Pick it up. You'll probably like it. Captain Canuck stuff once in a while with Comley Presses if they have some, good books, But in general, I read Thanos stuff. I'll just pull this up. I'm a big Thanos guy. Like, I was a big Thanos guy. I'm going to sound like a hipster long before the Infinity War movies and all of that. That was one of my first comic books. One of my first comic books. One of my first 3 comic books. One of them was Infinity Gauntlet issue number 2. So every time there's a new Thanos book or a trade or something, I try to pick that up. What I do is I have my pull bin of Transformer books at my local comic book store. Shout out to Mark the Comic Hunter. Easily the best comic book store in Montreal, without question. Check them out. It's a warehouse-sized basement comic book store. It's amazing. Every time I go to pick up my books with them, I'll come in, they'll be like, oh, hey, Daniel, how you doing? They'll pull out my pull bin, and then I'll be like, all right, just leave it there, and then I go around, and I look at the new books. And if I see something that catches my eye, I'll pick it up, because I'm the kind of person that's like, oh, if this is good, I'll pick it up. I'll read it. If I like it, I'll buy more of it. And right now, it's really just like, Thanos-related kind of books. I've started to revisit a lot of old stuff. I've started to because, you could pick up a lot of 90s books for, nothing now. So, the Street Sharks miniseries, the Biker Mice from Mars miniseries, those old comic books. The second run of Huntress with DC Comics, which was done by George Perez. I'm just grabbing all kinds of little things here and there and reading them. Just not too long ago, back in the day, Valiant was a company that used to do comic books. They did a series of Super Mario comics. And I used to have some of those as a kid, but I never read them all. They did Mario, they did Captain N, they did Game Boy. And I just started kind of reading through those. They did Zelda. How could I forget about the Zelda one? So I was just kind of, I'm just kind of revisiting some of those old books too, because you go to a comic book store like Mark the Comic Hunter that has thousands of back issues. They're huge. They're a mile high comic kind of store. You just go through the dollar bin stuff, and then you might find an interesting, indie book. I discovered Mutant X that way. Mutant X is this indie book done by Eclipse. I think it was called Eclipse Printing or Eclipse Publishing. An indie black and white book. And, hey, $1. It's a black and white book. 21 pages. I'll read it. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it won't be great. How bad could it be for $1 Canadian? That's like 50 cents American at this point, you know? People spend $5 on a cup of coffee. I could spend $1 on a comic, you know? So, I mean, I buy a lot of weird stuff. I mean, I wish I had my comics near me. I could show you some of the stuff that I picked up. I picked up Tracker. That was another weird book I picked up. I picked up, what was another weird one? It was like a Dungeons and Dragons book I picked up. It was called Sword Lace or Sword Play or something. A weird 90s book, too. Another independent book. Every time I see stuff like that, oh, it's issue number 1 of a weird book. Has an interesting cover. It's $1. Throw it on top of my pile. Why not? I was reading Icon not too long ago. That was done by Milestone. That's like the Black Superman story by Milestone Comics. Really like that. I love Icon. I don't know why Icon doesn't have a movie. I really don't understand that. There's some money on the table there. DC, get on that, man. But yeah, that's more or less it. I hope that answers your question a little bit. You know what? When I get my display of all my long boxes set up, I'll take some photos and I'll post it on Twitter. You'll check that out. All my crazy books and stuff. I have a lot. The fact that I have to build shelving for it just gives you an idea of how much I got. We got a super chat question from Quick Randy. He just wants to say, I really need that Decepticon Ravage Forever. I mean, Decepticon Forever Ravage. Yeah, it looks good, man. It looks like, I said it before, like, if you don't own Ravage X9, you're actually lucky, because you're going to get a way better version. I have Ravage X9. I have the Tigatron version, the repaint that they did afterwards for BotCon 2001. This one is way better. The Decepticon Forever Covert Agent Ravage version, that's a sexy looking box. That's a sexy looking insert. That's a sexy looking figure. You guys are lucky that you didn't have to spend $90 to $100 on a Ravage X9 from 1998, you know, to have your Ravage figure. Now you're going to get a good Ravage figure. A really good Ravage figure. So you're lucky, brother. You're lucky. Dreamer out there just says he wants to say hi. All the best. Thank you, Dreamer. Thank you for all the love and support for the podcast. It's always nice to have guys that love what we do. The craziness. And again, check out all the other stuff we do. Plug. Check that out. I'm telling you guys, just give it a listen. You're going to love it. Axe to the Head wants to know with the super chat, sup, Proto, do you think the Transformers show based on the 13 Primes could work? Oh, I think so. You know what? The problem is how would it be trademarked? That's the first thing you're going to have to really think about. So the first thing you're going to have to tackle is, okay, so we're going to have the 13 Primes, right? I think it would have to be done as a Netflix series, and would have to be something that, dare I say, would have to be like 13 to 16 episodes. You could have the origin of Cybertron and all of those characters of the 13, and then, of course, Unicron and Primus. Now, how do we make money as Hasbro as a business? Because it's a company that sells toys. That's where you have to have you have like a Netflix line. You're going to have a, original 13, Covenant of Primus, whatever you want to call that series, line of figures, and have those 13 characters. And then have those characters engineered in a way that even if the show doesn't do well, those toys could be re-engineered and made into mainline product later on. So like something that looks like a Prima, very Optimus Prime kind of looking character, or the Arisen, the 13th, or Solus. You could have a female body type with a big hammer, and then that mold could be retooled and reused to be his other characters later on if the line doesn't do well. There's a lot of ways how you'd have to tackle it, but it could be done. I think it could be done. I really do. And it would have to be a Netflix thing. It could not be a TV thing. I think that the original 13, it's a short story, and it's something that doesn't lend to itself to be long-term unless you're like somehow going off the rails and now it's like the Vector Prime Adventures or something, or the Alpha Trion Adventures. But then you're taking a series that's about selling toys and multiple characters and then shoehorning 2 characters and their adventures, which would be great for a comic book or a Netflix series that's short-lived, but not really for, let's say, a 52-episode series that has to sell full toy lines, multiple price points, multiple products, multiple waves of product. That's a different story. So I hope that answers your question. Went a little bit deep in the weeds there, but I hope that answers the question in some way or another. We got a gold super chat from my friend in the Philippines, J.R. Mina. What up, Jay? I think many of us grew up watching the 80s and 90s Saturday morning cartoons. What was your favorite opening theme from that era? Mask, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, Transformers Victory are a few of mine. Oh, brother, let me tell you something. In grade school, kids used to ask me to sing theme songs of 80s and 90s cartoons because I used to memorize them. Like, no joke. Some of my favorites. Botsmaster. Take it from the Street Boys. You know, the planet is in a jam, a diabolical plan of only one man, Louis R. Paradillon, international punk and his army of 3As, and yo, those heaps of junk. Yo, he can't fade us, the made of the boy and the guy who made us, Ziv Zoolander, master of the boys bots. He undermines the corpse. We're the sports boys, and we like making noise. Commander Jock made us intelligent droids. I'm Cook. I can take the heat. But don't forget, you are what you eat. Call me Watson. Let me swivel and say I rocked to the dock and I saved the day. The nerd's the name and the brain is my game. I'm Janice 6. Any trouble I can fix. My name is Ninjas. My body singes when I swing my sword. Something singes. I'm Ziv Zoolander. ZZ for short. I fight the corp. I'm the boss master. Listen up, you all. You're the boys brigades. When it's laser time, put on the 3D shades. It's laser time, boys. Bots master. Woo! Just to give you an idea. Bots Master, King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. What a badass theme that is. King Arthur and the Knights of Justice has an amazing theme song. Wildcats. Wildcats had a really cool theme song. We're heroes, not zeros. We got what it takes. So here's the fact. We got power to the max. You know what tough as nails. When all else fails, called Wildcats. Like, there's so many of those. And of course, you know, all the awesome ones. X-Men, Iron Man. You know, Transformer theme songs, like those are the go-to givens, but I'm talking more of the weird stuff. Like, oh man, there is so many. There is so many. See, someone even did Lizard Fury, rit from Bots Master. I love that sound that they always had in the background. That was Jamaz's sound. Oh man. God, what else? I'm trying to think of some other really good ones. You're putting me on the spot. 90s themes. I love definitely, like, when we're talking, you know, like YTV had all the crazy stuff too, the Japanese stuff that was ported over that would always have really weird theme songs and everything. Samurai Pizza Cats. Who do you call when you want some pepperoni? Samurai Pizza Cats. They're fighting crime and you know that ain't baloney. The Speedy Ceviche, he's the leader of the pack. That's right, a heck of a fighter makes a heck of a lunch. And little Polyester, who's never afraid. It's stuck forever. Forever. I hope that helps a little bit answer your question. You just got a whole bunch of singing out of me. I think it was worth it. Thanks for the super chat, Jay. Thanks a lot, my brother. Soundboard wants to know, are you into Toku? If so, which ones? I love Toku in general. Probably of the big three, the weakest of the bunch would have to be Kamen Rider. I still like Kamen Rider, but I'm more picky with Kamen Rider. I like the Kamen Riders that sold the worst are some of my least favorite ones. Like, I loved Kamen Rider Kabuto because it was the much more serious one. Wasn't really trying to sell toys. I really love that one. But the other two, it's Ultraman and Sentai. But Ultraman number one. Ultraman has always been my go-to. My dad introduced me to Ultraman when I was a wee lad. I saw the original Ultraman in dub, and then I saw Ultra 7 in dub, and then I saw Ultraman Towards the Future, which was an American, well, actually an Australian creation, but was, you know, westernized and brought over here. Bought those toys as a kid in Toys R Us when they were done by DreamWorks Production, not the studio, the toy company. Big Ultraman fan. Again, like, if you missed it before, you know, I love... like Sufobi Ultraman stuff. I have a huge connection with that. Whenever I go like to a Chinatown or something in any city that I'm in, whether it be Toronto, New York, San Francisco, Florida, I go straight to their Chinatown. I try to see if they have like Ultraman kind of paraphernalia because there's always weird bootleg stuff that I like too. So I'm a big Ultraman guy. Always will be. My favorite Ultramans are Ultra 7, Ultraman Zero. I have a nostalgic connection to Ultraman Great, Towards the Future, the original Ultraman, and Taro. Taro's pretty cool too, and Ultra King. He has a cool design. I like him too. There's so many. They're so cool. I have a pretty modest-sized Ultraman collection, but it's really more hyper-focused on characters I really like. And I think I've said this before, but in Toronto, there's a Ultraman ramen cafe with Ultraman paraphernalia on it. And it's awesome. Go check that out. I went there twice, and I want to go again. And when the world is back to normal, I'm going back to Toronto, and I'm going again. I hope that answers your question, Soundboard. I love my Ultraman. Always will. Have a very deep connection to that brand. Quick Randy wants to know, is Ravage an exclusive? I signed up for Pulse. Yeah, so Ravage will be a Hasbro Pulse exclusive for $49.99. But Hasbro Pulse said that they don't worry about it selling out. It's going to be the same thing like the Quintesson Pit of Destruction, where even if it sells out, don't freak out. Don't go to the secondary market and buy it from a scalper. They are going to have more. It's one of these things where they're going to have like probably 2,000 units. When that sells out, they're going to process those, and then they're going to put another 2,000 units. So it's the same thing. Again, the Pit of Destruction, they put it, sold out. They put it back, it sold out. They put it back. I don't know if it sold out the third time, but don't worry about it. It's going to be up, and they're going to have plenty for everybody. Let's put it this way. It's going to be pretty nutty. I'm missing so many. I'm missing so many comments here because everything's just flying by. I hope you people enjoyed. Theme song, Mazinger Great, not Z. Oh, I don't know the Mazinger Great theme I don't know the Mazinger Z theme. I know the Mazinger Z, I know by heart. I don't know Great by heart, which is sad because I like Great more than Z. Super Roboto Mazinger Zeto Tobase Tekken Roketo Panchi Imano Asono Boresto Fire. We got another super chat from Dreamer out there. Do you think it is possible for Origins Bumblebee to be was designed and meant for the first wave of Siege, but then was held back to bolster Buzzworthy? I don't think so. You know what? If that was the case, I'll be honest with you, Dreamer. If that was the case, then I think we would have saw that design in the Siege show also. I think that would have been the case. I think it was just something that was made after the fact. Like they finished the Siege toy line all those years back, and then they're like, okay, let's make some ideas for this Buzzworthy. Because Buzzworthy has like these two weird, it has that core class one with the Spike figure, and then it has that one. You have like these weird releases, these like weird one-offs of Bumblebee. And I think that, if anything, those are there in the Buzzworthy line to give it more credibility as a line as opposed to a reissue line. But it looks fantastic, that thing. Ugh. Like, you posted photos of it, and it was like, oh my god, I can't wait to get one. Like, it looks really good. It looks really good. But I firmly believe it was something made after the fact, not before. I think if he was made before, he would have been in the Netflix line. He would have been in the TV show. Like, I think they would have made the effort. I don't think he was pushed back. And he's so weird compared to everything else, too. Like, think about how, like, the Siege box is and how big that figure is already in the Buzzworthy box. Would have been a weird thing. Obviously Earthrise came around. We got, Cliff Jumper, and then things started to get a little smaller. But before that, I don't know. I don't think that would have been the case. But thank you for the super chat, my brother. Michael Koo wants to know, to maximize repaints and retails, why hasn't Hasbro done a TF What If series? Well, they did. They tried to do that with IDW with their Deviation comic, and well, to put it lightly, it sold absolutely terribly. So they tried. It didn't work. The closest thing we have to a What If is what Shattered Glass is. What if good was bad and bad was good? So that's pretty much it. That's our What If. Who knows? Again, in the future when they need new ideas, they'll maybe visit. What if Optimus Prime never died? What if all that stuff, and then the designs that could have changed from that. Perhaps, who knows? But I really feel like, that's what Shattered Glass is really. That's what it's fitting right now in a lot of ways. It kind of is that alternate continuity, different Earth kind of, vibe. But, like what Marvel does with What If is very different. Marvel. You know what's actually funny? I think I have a Marvel comic What If near me. Do I have that Captain America one? I was reading it not too long ago. That's another comic book I love reading, was the What If books, the old ones. But they were all tragic. Every What If comic book by Marvel is always like, here's what's different, and here's why you shouldn't be happy that it's different, because it always ends badly. Once in a while. Some of them were good. Once in a while, Spider-Man ends up with Black Cat and everything's fine, or he ends up with Silver Sable. Sometimes. Spoiler. Lizard Sphere X wants to know, how many more repaints does the War for Cybertron Megatron mold do you think we'll get before they realize we're tired of it? Until people stop buying it. You know what? Let's put it this way. Look how they milk the king of them all. The deluxe class classics Starscream mold is the king. I mean, that thing has what, like 17 different repaints? And I get a feeling that's probably undershooting that number. There's probably even more than that. Like, that is the king. And people bought every single one of them. And then after they bought every single one of them, they did it all over again. You know, here's the Siege mold. Let's see how many of that you're going to buy. So it's the Megatron is the same thing too. If they could figure out a way to make a variant and completists are going to buy it, they're going to keep doing it. Hasbro isn't going to make a decision that's going to make them lose money. They're going to make a decision that makes them go, yeah, they're going to buy it. They're going to buy it. They're going to jump. Yeah, we're going to tell them to jump, and they're going to jump. And if we tell them to jump and they don't, then we go, all right, we respect you for that. We won't try that again. And that's how it works. That's essentially how it works. You know, it's pretty crazy just how much the repaint stuff has really been a thing the past couple of years. Like, now, it used to be Seeker Jets were the one that was repainted like crazy. Then the Datsun brothers. Okay, you know, they have the trio, and then, like, you know, Barricade was brought in, and then maybe a blue streak and a silver streak and a, you know, blue silver streak and and then, oh, we're going to do a gold repaint, and then, you know, maybe we could make another character out of this too. Maybe we could make someone else. And then, like, then all of a sudden the Lamborghini guys come in. They go, hey, side swipe, red alert. That's it, right? Nah, man, we have to have like deep cover. We got to have, who am I forgetting? Man, why am I feeling I'm forgetting? I have Tiger Tracks. I have to look over. You know, like, they're going to fill it all out. Then we're going to do a different deep cover. We'll do it in different color schemes. And then G2 side swipe. And then we'll do a different colored side swipe. Like, they're going to mix it forever. Forever and ever and ever. Forever, man. Forever. They you know what it is when they did Armada. And actually, no, even I take that back. It actually predates Armada. The end of Beast Wars. At the end of Beast Wars, they did a little line called the Fox Kids repaints, where they took a whole bunch of molds and they repainted them. And people bought them. It was the tail end of the line, people were buying them. When they did Beast Machines, they didn't really do it that much. Yeah, there was, you know, the Dinobots line. Those were repaint, retools, some of them. But they didn't do a lot of repaints with that one. Here and there, you know, a drone once in a while repaint. But then when they did Robots in Disguise, that whole line has, like, built-in repaints. All the super modes, all this. Oh, hey, the Spy Changers, we're going to have clear repaint variants and everything, and the Tiny Tin variants and all that stuff. So they started seeing that. And then Armada just, every character is going to have a built-in repaint. Energon, every character is going to have a built-in repaint. Then we have the Universe line, which is we're going to take those characters and every one of those are going to be a built-in repaint, like a side BotCon line. So there's a lot of ways to make money and save money by doing that. And in a time where I'm pretty sure they made less money from Transformers by a slight because of the big V and everything, they're making more than enough money just from saving in R&D and design by doing repaints, selling directly through Pulse. I mean, that Shattered Glass line is probably very easy money in terms of design and planning. You know, they don't have to even think up very hard for the color schemes. Most of them are pre-existing. Take, look, almost anyone in this chat. It's like, hey, chat, We need you to make a Shattered Glass hot rod. What mold are you going to take? Someone who doesn't work for Hasbro. What mold are you going to take? What's that color scheme going to look like? I guarantee 9 times out of 10, everyone's going to come to the same conclusion. They will. And because that's the case, what an easy product to put together and put out. And then you sell it directly through Hasbro Pulse. No shipping it to distributors, no shipping it to stores, not having to worry about overhead, all that. Very simple. What a simple product. So that's the way I see it. Michael Koo with the $5. Proto, just because we got you to sing tonight. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, you got me to sing tonight. Holy crap, there's only half an hour left already? We got like 35 minutes? What happened? The whole day just burned away? Whoa. What is going on? What is going on? What if we turn this stream into a Proto Man karaoke? I hope not. One of the past TFCons, I even sung the Transformers Car Robots theme on stage. There's footage of that kicking around somewhere. It is cringy as hell. Proto, what is the rarest Transformer figure you own, and what is the rarest figure in your collection? Oh, that's a tough one. There's a lot of prototypes. So those are, one-offs. I have a whole display of just prototype stuff. I have the prototype resin of Overlord's head from Master Force. I'm not going to bother to go get it now. I'm going to have to open up the case and get it from the back. It's so fragile. I have the prototype. I have a lot of weird resin prototype stuff. Of stuff that's a little more distributed, we'll call it. I have some Lucky Draw stuff. Most of it Rodimus related. Some of them Beast Wars related. I try to get the Lucky Draw stuff. It's, I don't want to get too deep into it because it's a lot. It's stuff that would be maybe considered rare for most people is very common for me because it's, some Lucky Draws are common. There's Lucky Draws that they made 1,000. And to me, those are common. And I have a few of those because they were the more common ones. But it's just, I would have to say, maybe Super Hybrid Rodimus, but again, he didn't have a distribution properly. So I don't like, to count those as rare because those are really weird, expensive items. But, Lucky Draw, Primus, Lucky Draw, Energon stuff, Armada Souls, Unicron, just looking at stuff, all the Bakon stuff that was maybe less than 500 units. There's so many of those. But they didn't make many of them. Some of the early Bakon stuff that are maybe 1,000 units. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Yeah, I just have to show you the room, and then you tell me what's rare. But hope that kind of answers the question. Quick Randy wants to know, what does chug mean? I hear it a lot. Ugh. It used to mean Classics, Henkei, Universe, and Generations. It used to refer to that general style of Transformer toys. I've always hated the term because I knew that Transformers would constantly be changing what that term would be as years progress, and then Chug would just have to keep adding letters to it to the point that it wouldn't even be a legible word anymore. But that's what it means. It means Classics, Henkei, because at the time you had Japanese was Henkei and Classics was the American version, so that's where the CH comes from. Universe, which was the Universe 2.0 line, because you had the Universe 1.0, and then Classics was the Classics continuation was Universe 2.0, starting with Mega Octane, aka Octane, or I think they called him Tankor. That was the trademark dispute. Prowl and Sunstreaker, that was the first wave of that. And then we get into Generations, and then Generations, where the G comes from, that started with War for Cybertron, the video game stuff, War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, but then continued on with other Generation stuff, Thrilling 30. So that's where that comes from. But then when you get afterwards into Combiner Wars, Titan Returns, Power of the Primes, Siege, you want to start adding letters to Chug? I don't think so. I just call it, Classics-esque, Universe-esque kind of designs. Changes all the time. Price points change, the designs change, the concepts change, the gimmicks change. Whatever you want to call it. Whatever you feel comfortable with. Do you have the Mountain Dew Bot dispenser from 2014? I have both, yes, the Mountain Dew Bot dispenser, and I have the little robot hero. Both versions. I think I took a photo of both of them for my Instagram. I'm not sure. Just a warning, though, with that Mountain Bot Dew guy, he has this little, like, claw thing in his chest. The claw thing is made out of a rare case of gray GPS plastic. So it's a little brittle, so be careful with that. You might break the tips of the claw very easily. One of mine easily snapped right out of the box. So just a little heads up with that. It's a really cool toy, though, because Dewbot never got his due, so to speak. But it's still pretty cool. Let's see. Let's take another super chat question. Another super chat question. I know I missed a few. Everything got tossed around because I got to sing tonight. Someone asked here, does Hasbro Pulse ship out to other countries? You'd have to look that individually. Like I know in Canada, they ship to Canada, but it's not great, the shipping. UK also, so you have to really look individually. If your country is available. That's something, look, that's the only time where I think the secondary market will benefit you if you're someone that's buying from, say, China or the Philippines or maybe, a European country that doesn't have a Hasbro Pulse opportunity and eBay is your only option. That's definitely what I would suggest going with. There was a point where when I wasn't able to get some of like the PVC collection stuff, which was all coming from Japan, and there wasn't like a good website that had a direct distribution with the Japanese stuff. I'd wait for Japanese guys to sell it on eBay, and they'd upsell it, $4 or $5, but it would be the only way I'd be able to get it. There's a difference between scalping and then the only opportunity to get it because there's no other opportunity for you to buy for it. Scalping is if you did have the opportunity, but it was taken out of your hands because people bought them all up. There's a Hasbro Pulse UK now. Okay, good. Good for them then. That works out. Does the gray GPS affect the original payload toy? No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's specifically that Dewbot. I don't know why. Like, you know what? Let me get it. 1 second, guys. I'll show you what I mean. I will show you what I mean. Because I can actually reach him because he's right up front in the display. He comes to that little weapon too. Let me grab him. Alrighty, so how did this thing work? So you look carefully. I'm gonna have to. The pieces here are broken off on both sides, on both ends. It doesn't really show, you can't really see the stress mark on the camera, but there's Dewbot. Great toy, has that little Dewbot gimmick, new sculpted head. Where's the studio series of this, eh? That'd be really cool to get. But yeah, this is Dewbot with a big backpack in the back there. The shades of the payload mold and unfortunately what exists of it. Let's see. I have a G1 Fortress Maximus, has seen better days. In storage now. How would you go into cleaning it? Spider webs and dust definitely need cleaning. So when I clean Transformer toys, you know what I use? Best thing in the world. I know it sounds crazy. A woman's makeup brush is the best for dusting. Because a woman's makeup brush is very fine. It's sensitive. It's meant to, to protect the beautiful woman's skin. So it's the same thing on plastics. It doesn't damage the plastic. It's very good for like cleaning off all the dust. It's a little slow, but it's the best way to go about it. Do not blow into the brush to get the dust off of it. Literally, I know this sounds a little dirty, but like you're better off like dusting it off on your pants or something to get some of the excess dust off of it. Do not blow into it or touch it. The oil on your hands or the bacteria in your mouth will transfer onto the plastic of the toy. And as crazy as that sounds, that will damage the paint if you're dusting on a painted area. I've seen it on Pretender shells. I've seen it on a lot of older product where the paint wasn't as, I guess, sealed in and high quality. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Fort Max, though, mostly stickers. Not much paint decos on that guy. Just looking at mine right now. So different story. But paint, again, use a makeup brush for a woman. You know, go to Walmart, go to makeup department, get a bunch of brushes. You know, that's the best thing to do. And if you're dealing with spider webs and stuff, you know, use Kleenex just to get the bulk of it gone. That's the best way. I literally, no joke, like when I moved, I dusted all of these figures because they literally sat for years in my display. Yeah, no chemicals. Don't use any chemicals at all. That is, you're playing with fire. The Plastisol, the PVC, the ABS, you're going to be messing with that stuff. You do not do that. You don't know how it's going to react. You know? So I would not suggest that. Just simple dusting. But the sad thing is sometimes some stuff is so dusted that it actually is caked into the plastic. It happened only once to me. I had to change my landmine figure. You can probably barely see him, one of my Pretenders. I had to change my landmine figure because the dust was so stuck into his paint that I was like, it's a loss. So I bought a brand new one. You know? So that's one way to do it, my friend. The dusting method. And then afterwards, after you dust it, get some glass cases and keep them behind the old plexi in this case. Glass. But yeah, hope that helps you. Michael Koo wants to know, Proto Man, have you ever been done in the Old West? Have Transformers ever been done in the Old West? First episode of Transformers Victory. Isn't that Old West kind of gunslingers? Starsaber versus those two Decepticons. Even has the old spaghetti western, good, the bad, and the ugly music. And then of course you have like Wild Wheel. You have what's his name there? The Beast Wars Neo Dinobot. Arcanus. You know. So there's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of Wild West kind of Transformers with cool designs. It looks like Blondie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Again, Wild Wheel probably being the most recent version. Pretender shells that have liver spots. That's different. That's the term in the My Little Pony community, because they were the first ones to coin it. It's called pony cancer. I'll show you. Because I have one that suffers from a pony cancer. Where was it? This one here. Let me just take off the back piece. So, if you see the little spots on them, and that can't be helped, unfortunately. It's just the plastic over time just starts to break down. There is literally monster Pretenders that are mint on card, sealed, and it has this problem with the pony cancer, as they call it. My Little Pony community was the first to deal with it because they have all their ponies are made out of this soft PVC kind of plastic. So they're the ones that are constantly in a battle with this. Sometimes you have them without it, but it just means it's inevitable one day it will get to that. And there's nothing really you could do, unfortunately. It's just the choice to use this kind. This kind of plastic is rarely used with Transformers, but they were used with these monster Pretenders. So it really is a crapshoot, unfortunately. Liver spots. That's the one way to call it. But they call it pony cancer. That's what I kept hearing. All the Hasbro collectors who have pony stuff. Yeah, I got the same one. Yeah, see, there you go. Yep. We got 23 minutes left in the stream tonight, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well. Just a reminder also, hey, next weekend we'll be talking about the Kingdom TV series. I know some people have already saw review versions of it and said that the voice acting is effing terrible. I heard some clips and I was like, whew, it's gonna be quite a ride in the next couple of days. What is it, Thursday we're gonna be getting it? It's the 29th. Yeah, it's gonna be on Thursday. Yeah, oh boy. Good luck with that. Jeez. I don't know. I do not know. You know, like, that's gonna be the send off for our War for Cybertron trilogy. And I get a feeling we're going to be sent off a little angry. Like, what is this garbage? But, you know, I think we knew what we were getting ourselves into in a lot of ways. I think so. Let's see. TF Canadian fans, due to the Canadian VAT or something, your TF packages might be opened and then might be put back into VAT. I've honestly never had that. I've never had, I think in all my years of buying toys online since the early days of like eBay and even websites like Action Ace and Starbase Rugby, I've never had my packages opened by the Canadian Postal Service ever, like to check. And I bought a ton of stuff from China, which you would think like, you know, something sooner or later is going to get cracked open, but nothing at all. It's very rare that happens. The only issue with being a Canadian buyer is buying product that's over $100 and it being claimed over $100. That's where you get kind of screwed over. Like me, if I'm going to buy a really rare or expensive Transformer and it's like, let's say $200, $300, $400, dare I say $1,000, the seller is going to try to claim, and he rightfully so, but he's going to try to claim for his insurance the $1,000 when the product could get lost. That's the value. When it crosses the border, our duty looks at that $1,000 and we get hit, and it could be a lot of money. Michael Koo says, positive for Netflix Kingdom. We finally get to watch it. Netflix War for Cybertron will be over. That could be it. But you know what, though? I don't know if it's a positive because, like, you know, the past 2 years, we really didn't have a lot of Transformer material. I mean, the comic books have been keeping us busy. Don't get me wrong. The Beast Wars comic book by IDW is very good. But in terms of, you know, television and screen fiction, I mean, we really just have the Netflix stuff, the very limited amount of stuff that we got at the tail end of Cyberverse, which ended very quickly. And now we're waiting for these 2 specials. And that's it. You know, like, it's very little. This is the, like, it you know, you could blame, you know, the big V and stuff, but it's the first time in years that we've had this much of a drought of Transformers material in a very long time in terms of like just storytelling. Like no movie, no nothing. It's been pretty crazy. Where are we at? Trying to find more super chat questions that I might have missed, if there is any. See, like someone asked here, what if Optimus led the Decepticons and Megatron led the Autobots? Well, it depends. Is Optimus still the way he normally is, and is Megatron still the way he normally is? Otherwise, it's just shattered glass. Because if Optimus tried to lead the Decepticons, Starscream would have probably taken advantage of him being too nice and then shot him in the back, where Megatron always is looking behind his back. And then Megatron, if he was leading the Autobots, probably would trick everyone to jump into a ravine and get themselves killed. And then he could go take over the Decepticons. Because they're probably easier to deal with. I would imagine so. Let's see, what else? Man, we got only 20 minutes left, too. This is nutty. Everything passed super quickly. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Hey, Proto, do you think there's any credence to the rumor of Hasbro doing a Titan-class Nemesis? You know what? It's it's one of those things where, like, think about it this way. When Metroplex the Titan came out back in 2014, no, earlier than that, 2012, yeah, I think it was 2012. When that came out in 2012, and someone said, oh, one day we're going to get a Trypticon. That person's right, but look how long it took to get that Trypticon. When Fortress Maximus came out, and then what if someone said, you know what, one day we're going to be getting, I know it, Hasbro said they're going to make a Scorponok. They're right, but look how long that took. So what I'm trying to get at is, will we get a Nemesis? For sure. One day. It's going to happen. Is it next? That's the big question. The list that I was given, legitimate or not, I don't know if it's legit. I don't know if it's not legit. Again, my segment is out there. You could go listen to it. But legitimate or not, I feel that list I'm addressing it because just in case if it's bull, we can move on from it, and then we can know that source is incorrect. But if it is legit, what they're trying to say is, hey, this is the next thing coming. It's the Nemesis. Who that character is, that's the better question. I'm thinking maybe Tidal Wave. I kind of hope I'm wrong because I think Tidal Wave should kind of be his own thing separated from the Nemesis. But I think it's probably Tidal Wave. I don't know who else it could be. But at the same time, if you would have asked me who to name to be an Autobot, I would have said Omega Supreme, not the last Autobot from the Marvel Comics, which is what we got in the end. So we'll see what happens. Michael Koo wants to know, will we see a Kingdom Ultra Magnus repaint into his Diaclone version? I think one day, yeah, for sure. I think sooner or later they're gonna visit that. Like the Delta Magnus idea, which is where it first had its official name through Masterpiece. I think the Delta Magnus idea will find its way into other iterations of the character. Like, I feel like back in the day when we had animated and they had to do a repaint of the Leader Class Ultra Magnus there, and they did the Roadbuster Ultra Magnus. I think if it was today where they have the trademark for Delta Magnus, because back then they had Roadbuster. So Roadbuster Magnus, you're good to go. But back then, if they would have had Delta Magnus, they would have went with that color scheme. We would have got a cool, Diaclone, powered convoy Ultra Magnus from Animated. So I think sooner or later we're going to get one. For sure. It's one of those color schemes that, like, Hasbro has it in their back pocket waiting for the right moment to use it. So we'll see what happens. JR wants to know, and it's the legendary question that everyone seems to super chat at some point. I'll ask the question again. What's for dinner? Tonight I'm going to be having bagels again. I stopped by my local bagel joint. I'm probably going to just have some bagels. I'm going to keep it light. I ate very heavy today because I did a lot of work today. Probably just bagels. I'm just going to have some bagels and then call it a night. I'm going to eat light. Tomorrow I'm probably going to eat heavier. So what am I having for breakfast? I'm going to be having 2 eggs, bacon, not Canadian bacon, regular bacon. 2 eggs, bacon, hash browns, the large ones that you could bake, not the small ones. And I'm going to have probably those bagels with it too, with some butter. Maybe cream cheese, I'll see how I feel, with a nice tall glass of cranberry juice. That'll be my breakfast. Because supper tonight's going to be a little cheap. I think supper's a Canadian term. Dinner tonight will be a little light. A little light today. Trying to keep it simple. Orlando wants to know, and by the way, thank you, Jay, for the super chat about food. Orlando wants to know, what's your opinion on the scale of Beast Wars characters to the Generation 1 characters in Kingdom? I think it's dumb. I'll answer that in bigger... I'll flesh it out. I'm seeing a lot of people complaining, but if you think about it, a T-Rex is bigger than a semi-truck. Well, no, Megatron I don't think is the problem. It's when you kind of fall into... I mean, here's the thing. When you look at the original Beast Wars, Cheetor was the standard. Cheetor was like, when you saw Cheetor next to a cheetah, they were the same. When you saw Tigatron next to Snowstalker, an actual tiger, they were the same. We assumed that Optimus Primal was kind of also in that same range for the gorillas, maybe a small gorilla, because some silverbacks could get pretty freaking big. But we assumed that he was probably in that same region too. So use those as a standard. They're all tiny compared to the Autobots and Decepticons. Obviously, Megatron, when you get into the Predacons, all of them, front to back, all the Predacons are out of scale. Megatron's small, Dinobot is too big, especially what we know about Raptors today. Pterosaur is too small. Scorponok, all the bug guys, forget about it, not even in the conversation. So the Predacons, it's all over the place. Maybe it's Predacon technology. We've always heard about that. Oh, Predacon technology, how it doesn't have the programming block and all that stuff. Flawed maximal technology. Maybe Predacons, they're a little more modulable with their sizes. Where when we look at something like Rat Trap, he's really the only one that's really out of scale. Rhinox, you could argue, yeah, everyone else is either slightly bigger or slightly smaller. Rat Trap's the only one that's like super out of scale. Obviously, you can't talk about Fusors like, something like, Silverbolt, because Hawk and a dog. Hawk should be much smaller, but the wings are huge, but it's part of a dog, so now it's a griffin. But griffins aren't real things, so how could you, or a dragon for Megatron later. How could you even define what a dragon is in terms of height? So I think when we talk about that with Beast Wars, and now we look at Kingdom and those characters like Cheetor that were the standard for us, that would have been tiny, and now they're like face to face with Optimus Prime. It spits in the face of the archaic Energon guzzlers. How dare they, unwilling as I must, to follow my namesake's instructions, and yet it all let down to this, a day of reckoning when those who made us slaves. It spits in the face of all that lore of them being these small, compact, fuel-efficient, next generation, in a lot of ways. The Generation 3, which is Beast Wars. That's why I'm not a fan of it. But why did they do it? Because they didn't know. I bet you. They didn't know. They probably didn't even... They watched one episode of Beast Wars and they went, I think I got this figured out. I saw Beast Wars Part 1. Do I need to see Part 2? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm pretty sure that Dinobot guy's a bad guy. I'm pretty sure he's never going to do anything good. So, thank you very much, dudes who did the War for Cybertron trilogy cartoon. Bleh. Let you forever be known in the annals of time as, much like how we look at Ninja Turtles' Next Mutation, and Justin from the Power Rangers, and Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars. You have reached that level. Lizard Sphere X wants to know, do you think we will ever see the Animorphs or the mutants in future Beast Wars TF universe stuff? Animorphs, that's a good one, because the question is, who owns the rights to that? Because I feel like the Animorphs thing was more just Hasbro working with Scholastic to make toys, and it's not Hasbro owning the property, just like, making toys for that property. Because you have to remember, at the time, there was also the Animorphs TV show, the live action one, which featured the guy who was Iceman in the old X-Men movies. I forget his name, the actor. I'm so bad with actors. I apologize for that. But when it comes to mutants, yeah, that's a possibility. I could see something in the future where you're going to have something that just has 2 beast modes and no robot mode, and that could be a gimmick. I mean, we see a lot of toy lines already that exist outside of Transformers that do that because they don't want to do something that transforms from one thing to a robot because they're worried about being in that same universe as Hasbro's doing and getting sued and stuff. So you see like a lot of, I guess like there was a Metcard, I think it was called, Metcard, where it transformed from a car to a beast, or like it just didn't have a robot mode. It just kind of had like two alt modes. And that whole toy line got pulled and completely gotten rid of. I could see that kind of stuff existing, but I think that's when Hasbro runs out of ideas. They'll throw it in there and it'll be something. But I don't think it'll come anytime soon because, needless to say, the mutants, number one, were Animorph ideas that ended up becoming Beast Wars ideas. And number two, they weren't exactly well received, and that's why they're some of the rarest Beast Wars toys today, because there's very little of a secondary market of it. That's one way to look at it. Soundboard wants to know, with the $2 super chat, do you think the fossilizers will actually appear? No. just like the past stuff we got with Earthrise and Siege, there's just certain price points that are just there to be toys and nothing else. Where was our Micromasters? Where was our modulators? You know, where was 90% of our weaponizers? A lot of that stuff was left out. A lot of it. It was there to fill the line. And again, rightfully so. There's stuff that came out in movie lines and Cybertron and stuff, certain characters that just never were in the show. It just makes sense, but I think in this case, even more so because the budget is non-existent, to make those fossilizer designs, to put them in the show when already we're like going into wave 4 of the toys. Anyone who falls in love with any of those fossilizer toys are going to look back and go like, how do I get that toy? Oh, it's not even on shelves anymore. So the timing is really off. That's one thing that I really don't understand with this Netflix stuff is why don't they plan it in advance so that when it hits the TV, if someone watches it and then goes, I want that toy, they could go to Walmart in that moment and get it. Japan's good with that. All the past series were good with that. But this is a really missed opportunity. Now, you could argue, well, that's why they have the Netflix line, because that comes out after the fact, and then they could get that stuff. By the time the Netflix line comes out, it'll be the Kingdom Netflix stuff. I understand that, but at the same time, they're missing out on a lot of product, too. I don't think there's going to be a Netflix Dinobot. They're just going to have, or like some of the other ones. Like, there wasn't a Netflix RC. There wasn't a Netflix... I'm just trying to think of some of the others, or a Chromia. So, wasn't it? I think there was a Netflix Chromia. Anyways, but you know what I mean. But yeah. How much time? Oh God, we got 6 minutes left. Oh boy, and we still have more super chats. Okay, let's get to the super chat. Princeton wants to know, hey Princeton, how you doing, brother? Thank you for the super chat again. Hey Protoman, what is all this news about some whistleblowers that got fired at Hasbro? Do you know what that is all about? I have not heard about any of that. Was this something that just happened now? Is it related to the Transformers brand or just Hasbro as a whole? I'll probably have an answer when I learn about that if this was extremely recent news. In terms of whistleblowers, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, who got busted for what exactly? And what did they do? Sorry, I can't answer that one. I don't know. I would answer it if I knew what you were talking about. Is this something very recent? I kind of have been half away from the computer today, so I might have missed maybe some stuff. Possibly. See, FJ DeSanto said the fossilizer... Look, no offense to FJ, but I'm not going to listen to anything FJ said. FJ posted on some of my segments... saying like, oh, this, there's more stuff that's going to be revealed in Siege, and nothing got revealed. FJ, to FJ's, I'll give him this. He's trying to cover his butt, and I understand. I get it. So, I wouldn't listen to really what FJ's saying. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. He's doing what he's trying to do. Get that money, brother. Get that paycheck. A lot of thumbs up. Hey, Proto, gonna miss War for Cybertron Trilogy. Are you gonna miss War for Cybertron Trilogy? Not really. I miss Cyberverse more. I think Cyberverse had way more potential, and it was probably just as much content when you think about it. Because Cyberverse were 10-minute episodes. So if you took like 3 Cyberverse episodes, it's like 1 War for Cybertron episode. And I think they're almost equal in runtime. If you took all of War for Cybertron Trilogy, Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom, and then you took like all of Cyberverse up to this point, it's almost the same runtime. And I'll miss Cyberverse way more because I think Cyberverse had better characters, had better voice acting, had better stories, just the better show. The only sad thing is Cyberverse had the weaker toys. I think War for Cybertron has the way better toys. So that's Cyberverse's biggest weakness. That and the show was kind of short. If it was a little longer, it'd be awesome. The voice acting is weak. The storytelling is weak. The limited budget makes it weak. There's a lot of things. Here we go. Princeton, I think the whistleblower that worked at Hasbro leaked some information about info. Not sure, though. Let me tell you something. Everything that I get in terms of early information, I get tons of stuff sent to me. So many people, complete strangers, people with no Facebook followers, people with brand new accounts, children, all kinds of people send me messages with this is going to be this, and I always go, what's your source? Who are you? And they're like, oh, I can't tell you. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, this stuff is fake. So I get a lot of stuff sent to me. A lot of it I take with a grain of salt. A lot of people are trolling. You know, they go, oh, he's someone who does the big Transformer News podcast. I'm going to try to send him some false information. But I've been dealing with this for years, so I know when something is incorrect. And a lot of stuff is sent to me from a lot of different sources, and a lot of those people are not Hasbro people. They know another guy who knows another guy who knows another guy. So how they get caught, I don't know. How it happens, I don't know. It's out of my jurisdiction. And a lot of times I'm given this information and I don't talk about it because I don't want to be the guy who leaks it. I rather someone else be the villain, and that's it. We didn't talk about a certain Taiga today because I don't want to be part of that mess and those losers. You know, there's 2 people that were talking to me today. Hey, did you hear about what's going on with this YouTuber and that YouTuber? Forget those guys. Those guys are losers. They're losers, man. They're going to go nowhere. They're going to rely off of making ad revenue off of children who don't know any better, and that's about as far as they're going to get in their career of this stuff. And I don't care about that. I really don't. I really don't. That's spitting fire on that one. Let me tell you. The whistleblower got booted for sharing news about Hasbro employee training. Oh, that video. That was a political video, though. I didn't watch that one. See, the thing is, when it comes to the politics stuff, it's like I don't care about that. You know, I have my own saying. You know what it is? Do whatever you want in life. Just don't get in my way. That's it. That's how I work. You could do whatever you want in life. Just don't get in my way. When you get in my way, maybe we'll have a problem. But most things in life, people don't get in my way. Almost everything people do in life don't get in my way because I'm a very simple man. So, but it's just I don't care about that kind of stuff. It's all that crazy, you know, CRT stupidity and everything that's going on that everyone's talking about. Look, I was raised in a very dilapidated part of Montreal, Côte-de-Neige, for people that know. You know, my best friend, Wendell, is an African-American Trinidadian individual, grew up with him and stuff. I don't bother with that stupidity. Talk to me about toys. Don't talk to me about that stuff. You know? I don't really care about it. This is for Aaron Archer if he's still here. Are you back at Toy Hio this October? Aaron, someone wants to know if you're going to be back at the ToyCon Hio in October. Princeton says, thank you, you rock, enjoy the streams. Thank you, Princeton, for all the love and support and everything that's going on. And with that being said, it's 2 hours, my friends. So that's it for everything for the stream. Man, did that pass ridiculously fast. I did not realize how fast that would pass. I apologize for that if you guys had more questions and stuff. But thanks everyone who came to the stream. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, let us know we're doing a half-decent job and doing okay. And I'll answer this one. Did I see the new Netflix He-Man series yet? I have not seen it yet, but I do want to see it because I heard my boy is doing very well in it. So I always keep him on my desk now. So I'm going to definitely check it out. I have not had time. I have not had time at all, but I would love to. But yeah, anyways, guys, thanks again for everything. I want to thank again Symbiote Studios and everything that they do. Hasbro and Symbiote Studios for helping support everything. Check out Snake Eyes. It is out right now. Go to Symbiote Studios. Pick up a Snake Eyes. Get that little doggy. Get that little Timber. You know you want him. Look at him. He could just sit on your desk. Anyways, And it comes with the pin, too. You get that with that whole little $29.99 package. So, again, thank you, Symbiote Studios. Check out the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer after you're done listening to my silly voice. Listen to how Star Wars came to be and how Star Wars came to be #1 with Aaron Archer. Check out that stuff. You get to hear my voice with that, too. Me and Aaron Archer go back and forth. We riff. We have a good time. Check that out. The Toy Armada on YouTube. And again, if you want to support the podcast, Patreon is down there. Come join. Help support the podcast. Come join us on Discord. All the cool stuff there. What more could I say, my friends? Thank you, everyone who shows up. I mean, geez, we get like sometimes we peak at 170, 200 people. It shows that the love of Transformers is strong. And as always, like I say, roll out.